schools, there's a balancing act between, not being overly punitive and still having some consequences for people making decisions that are negative for society. So clearly, if you get a ticket for driving too fast, and I think everybody has gotten one at some point in their lives, that's something that they want to curtail. And I totally get why, because you drive fast, and I have a lead foot. You drive fast, you're more likely to get in an accident, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to. But you also don't want to create an environment where a person finds themselves homeless because they got a speeding ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad you made the connection to schools because, we've stopped a lot of things that used to be suspendable where a kid would be sent home are no longer suspendable. And so these kids are staying in school. And the reason for that is because so many kids were being suspended and they were out of school for so many days that they would fall behind academically, which then led to even more bad behavior because they were behind and they couldn't do the work, which then kept them out of school even more, and eventually they would become dropouts and not be successful.
Is that the real reason, or is it because the districts get paid for tookuses in seats?
Well, and that's part of the discussion that's going on right now.
I'm so jaded. I'm sorry.
I'm a big believer. I wish they'd bring back the on-campus suspension. I know it's an expensive program, but then you get your money for having the kid there, but you also have a place where you can send that kid who really, frankly, is just cutting up in class and creating such a problem for the teacher that everyone else is suffering.
Right.
And we need to have some alternative because right now what they're basically saying to you is tough, suck it up, you just got to keep that kid in your class. And they're giving us training to help us to deal with these kids.
So this is radio. You didn't see his air quotes.
Yeah. But, the training doesn't always – there are just some kids that are incorrigible, and you try all these techniques that you've been trained to do, and you spend all your time focused on that one kid.
Right.
All the other kids are really losing out on their education.
They are. And the knucklehead shouldn't take all of your attention.
I say one kid, but oftentimes what happens is you have a bad mix of kids in a class, and you reach a sort of a critical mass. And if you get 3, 4, 5, 10 kids that are cutting up, there's no strategy. There's no training that you can go to. That you just need to break that group up.
Right.
You need to have some alternative to get them away from each other, out of the class, so you can actually do the job you're supposed to do, which is teaching.
Exactly. And I think that there's no more place. There's no place who has that problem more than a middle school.
Yeah.
Because middle schoolers are squirrely, even if they're the best behaved kid. That's just the age. You're squirrely when you're 12, 13, 14 years old.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Or 11, 12, because you have 6th grade. So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by Dell. Do you need help finding the right Dell PCs with Intel Core processors for your business? Call 877-BUY-DELL to talk to a Dell Small Business Tech Advisor. This is Charles Osgood. On our previous broadcast, our CBS News colleague John Blackstone was telling us about Tim Wong, known as the Butterfly Whisperer, who is helping to bring back the California pipevine swallowtail. It's not the only species of butterfly that's in trouble.
The single greatest cause of extinction is the loss of habitat.
Bill Toon's organization, Eco-Life, is working to protect the forest in Mexico, where the most studied butterfly, the monarch, spends the winter. Toon is part of a campaign spearheaded by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, encouraging communities to replant native species, creating butterfly gardens to help them survive.
More after this. In San Francisco, Mike Belcher is a retired firefighter who is doing his part to help the butterflies to survive.
I grow plants for butterflies.
Belcher's Butterfly Oasis includes all kinds of flowering plants and a huge pipe vine for that elusive San Francisco butterfly.
I planted it here 17 years ago with the hope that someday maybe the pipevine swallowtail would find it and breed here.
And this year they did, for the first time, laying eggs on his pipe vine.
Good to have them back in San Francisco.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Belcher gives much of the credit to Tim Wong's work, which is also paying off. Wong's plants now have a bumper crop of eggs.
And they're laid in clusters because when the caterpillars hatch, they forage as a group and feed like a little caterpillar army.
The return of the pipevine swallowtail is encouraging, but the monarchs face a long and challenging journey back from the brink. Both need a lot of help from their friends.
The Osgood File. This is Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
This is Joe Lyons. The Mark Christopher Auto Center would like to now salute the memory of our founding fathers as we celebrate the 4th of July.
241 years ago, a small group of men changed the course of American history. They were merchants and Minutemen, planters and philosophers, soldiers and statesmen who feared God and loved liberty more than life itself. They pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to support and defend their mutual declaration of independence from England. On July 4, 1776, the Declaration was unanimously approved. A few days later, the famous Liberty Bell in Philadelphia was rung, and citizens gathered to hear the Declaration proclaimed. They celebrated all night long with torchlight processions, cannon fire, and loud revelry. Today, 241 years later, we echo that first celebration on July 4th as citizens of our American Republic.
At the Mark Christopher Auto Center, the 4th of July deals have never been hotter. Sure, walking a car lot may be exhausting on a day like this, but the annual Independence Day deals are a lot hotter than the asphalt. Family-owned Mark Christopher knows something about independence. After all, they've been Ontario's independent GM dealer since 1975. You'll find Mark Christopher Auto Center at the Vineyard exit of Interstate 10. Mark Christopher Auto Center, saluting American liberty.
Harupa Auto Repair reminds all listeners to please get out and donate to our military, whether it be a care package sent overseas or blood donation right here at home. Every little bit helps our troops. Don't forget the brave men and women who put their lives on the line each and every day. This reminder from Harupa Auto Repair, serving the community with professional automotive repair services. For a job done right the first time, call the experts at Harupa Auto Repair at 951-360-0034. That's 951-360-0034.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Big story out of Australia. Cardinal George Pell, the third highest ranking Vatican official, has long been accused of mishandling the Church's response to clergy abuse scandals in his native Australia. Police in Victoria State now say he might have been one of the abusers. Australian police say the 76-year-old Vatican treasurer faces multiple charges in respect of historical sexual offenses involving more than one accuser. Pell was ordered to appear in court in Melbourne on July 18th, and the church says he plans to return to Australia to clear his name if doctors allow him to travel. He is looking forward to his day in court and will defend the charges vigorously, the Australian Catholic Church said in a statement. Police have not disclosed details of the allegations involving Pell, who was a parish priest in Victoria in the 1970s before becoming Archbishop of Melbourne. Pope Francis said last year that he would not comment on allegations involving his advisor until after the justice system speaks. Brian Coyne, editor of the Catholic Forum Catholica, tells the Sydney Morning Herald, which is like their New York Times, the Sydney Morning Herald, that Pell has long been a divisive figure in the church, and this is a watershed moment for Catholicism. Pell was moved to Sydney and elevated to the rank of cardinal to clean up the church in Australia, Coyne says. The implications of this for the church internationally and Pope Francis scarcely bear thinking about.
So right now, he's the third-ranking member of the Catholic Church. He's the banker. He's the banker for the Vatican, right? And so he's living in Rome, and he's going to be not deported. He's going to come back on his own free will.
If he feels, if his doctors release him, and I would bet money that his doctors will not release him for travel.
Well, I've looked at a different article here in CNN, and it sounds like he's going back, like he's intent to go back. He says, all along I have been completely consistent and clear in my total rejection of these allegations. News of these charges strengthens my resolve, and court proceedings now offer me an opportunity to clear my name. I'm looking forward finally to having my day in court. So that sounds like that doesn't sound like he's planning to not come back.
I don't know. I will be surprised if he does. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I will be surprised if his doctors, quote, release him for travel, unquote.
Yeah.
I think he stays in Rome.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Obviously, all of these sex scandals within the church have been quite terrible for the people, obviously, that were abused, and for the regular members, the people who've ended up having to sort of foot the bill and deal with the shame and realizing that some of these priests that they have admired and respected were in fact horrible men who did terrible things to children, and that's a very shocking thing, and it's cost the Catholic Church in a lot of different ways.
So full disclosure, Tobin, you're Catholic.
Yeah, well, and to have somebody this high up in the church, and obviously he was elevated to the rank of Cardinal of Australia in order to clean up the church. In Australia. And
yeah,
so,
okay, but if you're a member of and this is me being cynical, if you're the member of a church or a leader of a church where you know that this stuff is going on around the world, and it has been it was going on around the world, who are you going to put in charge of cleaning it up? Somebody who is really good at damage control.
Yeah, it's true.
And so it's going to be about saving face for the church, not about doing right by families and victims.
Yeah. This is a statement here from the previous Archbishop. This is the Office of Pell's successor in Melbourne, Archbishop Dennis Hart, released a statement saying that he believes that Pell is entitled to a fair trial. Cardinal Pell has been a friend and brother priest of Archbishop Hart for more than 50 years, the statement said, and a matter of public record that Cardinal Pell addressed the evil of sexual abuse in the church on becoming Archbishop of Melbourne in 1996. So, this is a guy who's spoken out against these kinds of things. Again, it'll be very interesting to see what the actual charges are. We don't know those yet, and what the claims are. It's kind of hard to prove that something didn't happen, though. If somebody says you did something to them, how do you prove you didn't?
Well, but okay, so if that's what they do in courts all the time.
No, I know. I'm just saying that it's difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's difficult. If somebody, says you hit them and it's just the two of you, how do you prove you didn't?
Again, it's what courts do.
Yeah.
And if somebody comes forward and says that, if more than one person comes forward and says that he abused them too, that's. It's if it's he said, she said, if it's just one accuser. But if there are more, which is, you look at Bill Cosby, not a member of the Catholic Church, but look at Bill Cosby, when women were just like onesie twosie women coming forward
I agree.
and making allegations. Let me finish. People blew it. They weren't paying attention. They just said, women just want money. But then there was an avalanche of women who came forward with Bill Cosby, and then all of a sudden people paid attention. So if a lot of people come forward and say that this guy knew about the sexual abuse or committed that sexual abuse himself, that's a different ball of wax than just one accuser.
Yeah. No, I get it. And obviously when someone is high up in the church as he is and as powerful as it's even harder for people to come forward. I get it. They don't think they'll be believed.
Yeah, and in a lot of cases they weren't. But the strength comes in numbers. And so we'll see. I'm angry at the leadership of the church that let this happen for so long. And I don't know why these sexual predators felt like that, they wanted access to kids, and I suppose the church is a place to get access to kids, but that the fact that the church did not boot these men out and rid them, force them from their ranks, I will never understand.
Yeah.
I will never understand how they could continue to move these people around from parish to parish to parish to get kids. And like you said, the membership has really paid the toll with all in the reduction in the amount of money because of all of the lawsuits, and it's just been it's been a disaster. The families the everyday Catholics were put in the position of having to justify the unjustifiable.
No, I agree.
And protect their church, and it's inexcusable what was done to them. So with that, it's time for, we're at the end of our show for today. Have a great day, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3.
See you driving round forget you. I guess the change in my pocket wasn't enough. I'm like, forget you and forget her too. Said if I was richer, I'd still be richer. But wait, that's some shit. That's some shit. And although there's pain in my chest, I still wish you the best. From the forget you.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Good morning. I'm Chuck Kamlick, CNBC. Stocks may see small gains at the open today, but bank stocks will soar. All the major banks passed more Fed stress tests, and they are now allowed to pay billions of dollars in dividends to investors. Walgreens will not buy Rite Aid for about $9 billion. The government had too many objections. Instead, Walgreens will buy about half of Rite Aid's stores for about half the price. Constellation's brand says Corona and Modelo are so popular, profits are soaring, and its beer business could grow another 10% this year. Illinois will stop selling Powerball and Mega Millions tickets because it doesn't have a budget and no money to pay the winners. Blue Apron begins selling stock to the public today. One share will cost $10. That's about the price of one of its home-delivered meal kits. And some senators want to stop Kaspersky from getting a government military computer security contract because Kaspersky is a Russian company. Chuck Kamlick, CNBC.
Hi, my name's Tim Forehand. I'm a deputy sheriff. In my job, keeping in shape is important. I've tried other products to get my weight down, but nothing has worked like Android 400. In just 3 months, I've dropped 51 pounds, down from 230 to 179. Plus, the weight's come off in the stomach area. I've gone from a snug 36-inch waist to a 32-inch waist, which I was in high school. I highly recommend the Android 400 to all my friends.
Guys, are you
Tonight.
It's coming!
What has happened out there?